Right. So Secretary of State Blinken, he was talking to the United Nations Security Council, and the topic that they were discussing was humanitarian aid to Syria. Okay. And I'll explain the details of this renewal that they're talking about. But I want to show you just a short excerpt, a short clip of what he said. Okay. And I mean, just watch this. Just look at this ghoul, honestly.
Look, we all sit in these chairs. We speak these words. We represent our countries. But how is it possible that we can't find in our hearts the common humanity to actually take meaningful action to do something? How is that possible? I have 2 young children of my own. I suspect many members of this council have young children or grandchildren. I think of my kids when I think of the Syrian children we've heard talked about today. I ask you to do the same thing. Think of yours, look into your hearts, and then talk to your colleagues. And despite our differences, we have to find a way to do something, to take action, to help people. That is our responsibility. And shame on us if we don't meet it.
Yeah, shame on you, all right. I mean, if he treats his children the way he treats Syrian children, wow. I mean, he's even a bigger piece of shit than I thought. And the bar was already pretty low. Does he put sanctions on his children? He makes sure that his children starve? Does he make sure that his children can't even open Duolingo? Like, you have all these learning apps that were banned for a long time. I think Duolingo is like one of the only ones that recently got unbanned. But, you know, tons of Syrian kids could not take English certification exams anymore. They can't even have access to education, no access to food. That's how you treat your kids, really. And now you want to come here and pretend like you actually care about Syrian children when you are putting sanctions on them and you are complicit with this fucking nut job regime that you know you think is better than Trump, and you're just continuing Trump's policies, Caesar Act sanctions. And before Biden got elected, Blinken, he was his foreign policy advisor. He was telling, it was in the Washington Post. He's telling that Biden believes the Caesar Act sanctions are a good tool. They're a useful tool. So they agree with this Trump policy. They agree with the maximum pressure campaign. 60% of the population that is left in Syria right now, they're under 24, man. They're under 24. 30% are under 14. And 60% now of the Syrian population are food insecure. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the exact same 60%, right? It doesn't mean that every single person under 24 is food insecure, but the vast majority of them are. 90% of Syrians are living in poverty, right? How the fuck do you inflict that on people and then you pretend to care about them? You motherfucker, you piece of shit. You fucking ghoul. Can you believe this shit? Can you believe this fucking shit? And then he's posting also this crap on Twitter like, oh, the needs of the Syrian people are profound. We are providing $596 million in additional life-saving aid to those in need in Syria and across the region while we support UN efforts to end the crisis. What are those crumbs? $600 million? Those are fucking crumbs. No one wants your crumbs. Okay? I mean, just look at this. This is from the Syrian oil minister. Okay? He's given an interview last week to Al-Akhbariyeh. Look what he says, man. He says that the damages, the estimated direct and indirect damages to Syria's oil sector are over $92 billion. $92 billion, okay? So, I mean, Syria's producing around 30 million barrels of oil per month. $30 million worth of barrels per month, okay? So every month, this is before the war, every month, Syria is bringing in about $30 million from oil exports. Okay. But that's not the only thing. He's talking about direct and indirect. So this is, damage to infrastructure, right? Environmental pollution, diseases caused by all these makeshift refineries that these terrorists have built when they were stealing the oil. Because again, the oil fields have gone through several hands. They've gone through ISIS hands. They've gone through Al-Qaeda. They've gone through the Kurds. They have these makeshift refineries and they pollute the environment, and the people who live nearby, they get diseases. So, this has been happening for 10 fucking years now, right? I don't think you could ever know the true cost. So those crumbs, we're not interested in those crumbs. This is just the oil. This is just the oil, which is 25% of government revenue, which is used to fund social programs, which is used to fund infrastructure. Never mind the crops. The United States, man, you need to understand something of what's going on over here, okay? Let's look at the map, okay? This entire region, again, I hate maps that don't have a map that does not have a legend or a key is de facto useless. So never ever in your life make a map without a key or a legend. Ignore that. Let's not have any colors here. I just want to show you the raw map. Okay, there we go. So this entire region, northeastern Syria. Okay, so you have the Hasake province over here. This entire governorate is called Hasake, and then you have the Deir ez-Zor province. All the oil. Right, the majority of the oil fields are here, okay? And also the crops. So, we're talking about, this is why it's called the breadbasket region, because you have wheat grown here, you have, lentils, cotton, you name it. So it's not just that they're stealing the oil and they've caused damage to the oil sector and they're sanctioning it on top of it, right? They're also occupying this region, the United States with their troops and the Kurdish-led SDF, which they're protecting, they're working together with, right? So they've taken the crops hostage, they've taken the oil hostage, so there's no food and there's no revenue. And on top of that, there's the Caesar Act sanctions, which makes sure that Syria can't have access to foreign currency. It can't trade on the international market. It can't buy anything. It's fucked. They're literally choking off Syrians, right? From everything. And this piece of shit, he comes here and he acts like he cares about Syrian children. You motherfucker, you are literally starving them. You are responsible for that. You're complicit in that. This is fucking unbelievable, honestly. It's so insulting. And there are morons who swallow this up and they have no clue what's going on. And so, just to go back to what they were talking about in this UN Security Council meeting, you have several border crossings. Let me show you again on the map between Turkey and Syria, right? And these are used to get aid across, okay? And the last one that's open now is called Bab al-Hawa, okay? And this is in Idlib, which is in northwestern Syria. And you had one that was closed last year. I think it was Bab al-Salam. And, every time what happened is that they failed to renew them. So if you recall the way the UN Security Council works, you have 15 members and 5 of them are permanent. The 5 permanent ones, the P5, that's the US, the UK, France, Russia, and China, right? So they were afraid that Russia would veto their plan to have several border crossings last year. So they ended up having one from Germany and Belgium with just one. So right now you only have one border crossing open, and that's, as I told you, it's the Bab al-Hawa border crossing. Let me show it to you on the map. Okay. And there we go. And it's important to understand this, okay? Why Blinken thinks that, he's some kind of crusader for Syrian children when he's actually lying to you, right? So again, this is Idlib province over here, okay? And Bab al-Hawa is right on the border. And so, the thing is that the Americans, what they want is they want all of these border crossings reopened so that all of the United Nations aid and all of their aid is going to the opposition, which is in Idlib. And again, to call it opposition is kind of, that's an understatement. You have a stronghold of jihadists, right? Literally tens of thousands of jihadists. Most of Idlib is under the control of HTS. HTS is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is a rebranding of Al-Qaeda, right? You can't make this up, right? So the position of Russia, the position of Syria has been that no, the aid should go through Damascus because the government is in Damascus, not in fucking Idlib, right? And definitely not in the hands of jihadists and Al-Qaeda scum. But the Americans, they don't want that. They don't want Damascus having any control whatsoever, right? No food, no wheat, no crops, no oil, no access to foreign currency. You can't trade, you can't do anything. We're going to block you with sanctions, and no aid. And so they come around, they say, oh, look, Russia's blocking the aid. Oh my God, look, you're starving Syrian children. Dude, your fucking crumbs are not going to feed Syria. If you leave the oil fields, if you get out of the breadbasket region, you get out of Deir ez-Zor and Hasakeh, and you leave the crops alone, that's going to fix the problem. You see, they're trying to perpetuate this colonial mindset. Like, we're going to take over your resources, and we'll give you some crumbs in exchange so that you can't really stand on your feet and you're always dependent on us. That's what they want, right? And you do what we say, you implement the political changes that we want, or we take away the crumbs. That's what it is. It's a fucking mafia. And another reason, of course, is they want to legitimize the opposition, right? They're trying to delegitimize the actual Syrian government in Damascus by making sure that the aid does not go through there. And, this border crossing in Bab al-Hawa, I think it's set to expire in June or July this year because it was extended for 12 months. And, it's just like they're so fucking dishonest how they try to portray it as like, oh, look how generous we are. We gave a few millions, which are like crumbs compared to the shit we're stealing. And, look, we care about Syrian children, which we are starving, but, it's all Russia's fault. You motherfuckers. They're incredible, man. They're incredible. They really are. And he goes and does this performance as well. I mean, so disgusting. Honestly, these people are disgusting, and it's so weird seeing them use their children for these deranged policies. Like, do you remember Joe Biden using his dead son as a reason that he does not want Medicare for all? Do you remember that? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I don't understand how soulless these people can be. I really don't. So I'm just really angry. And of course, are you going to hear anyone? Are you going to hear a single fucking person in the U.S. government tell you what I just told you? Of course not. Never, right? None of these progressives, they're not going to tell you anything. None of this. They are quiet. They have tucked their tails between their legs. And, they just pretend to, oh, look, we're fighting imperialism. And they just shut the fuck up and let Joe Biden and Blinken continue the literal exact same fucking policies that Trump and Pompeo were doing, that they came up with. Right. I mean, if we're being really honest here, they didn't do it by themselves. Right. We can't give them all the credit. Israel, of course, has a huge role to play in this. Of course. Right. So it's not just them. Trump was his entire presidency, his entire tenure. He was just bending over backwards to do favors for Israel. And this is one of them, right? The Caesar Act sanctions, that's just one of them. But again, they are continuing literal, exact same policies as Trump and then trying to portray themselves as better. It's just bullshit. It's just verbal diarrhea. I'm so disgusted and fucking angry. I really am. I mean, like, how dare you, honestly? How fucking dare you,